Today we're going to meet Miss Tonia Howell. Tonia Howell of the Arlington Chamber. Tonia, appreciate you meeting with us this morning.
Thanks. I'm glad to do it.
Just a chance to just kind of hang out with you for a few minutes, nothing real formal. So to get things started, you know the old elevator pitch thing, people ask you, so what do you do? What's your job?
So a lot of people ask what a chamber does. Basically, the chamber's the business advocate for the community and for the members of the chamber. And so we plan events that will give our members visibility, and we also pay attention and watch legislation and laws and ordinances that will affect our business community. Try to interact with lawmakers to make sure that the business owners' best interests are taken into account, and have projects that help with economic development and things like that. So that's kind of overarching.
Kind of get ahead of myself. I probably should have phrased it a little bit different, but that's good information. I like that. The chamber. So what do you do? That's what the chamber does. So when you show up every morning, what do you do around here?
Well, one of the things I like about the job is that every day is different. So some days are office work and paperwork and keeping up with members and data. So there's a little bit of data involved. But then there's planning events. Right now I'm involved in writing some grants for the chamber. And I have now pre-pandemic, I have a lot of meetings. I'm in group meetings where I'm meeting collectively with the suburban chambers. Sometimes I'm in meetings with elected officials. Sometimes I'm just meeting folks in the community and things like that. So every day can be a little different. Different months have different types of tasks with them.
You mentioned data. Numbers.
Yeah, right.
And even the other chambers, municipalities. I guess you're talking about like the Millington, the Collierville, the Germantown, different places like that.
So you might find it interesting to know that the municipal communities collectively, our chambers, have something called the Shelby County Chamber Alliance.
Oh.
And so the members of that are Arlington, Bartlett, Collierville, Germantown, Lakeland, and Millington. And so we meet quarterly, and we have some common goals. And some common needs, and so those are the things that we address.
I would assume that would be what you all have shared interest in as far as the West Tennessee region.
That's right. Maybe development of the 385 corridor, things that we want to get in front of the West Tennessee delegation, things like that.
Did I not see recently, I subscribe to the Memphis Business Journal.
So do I.
You may be a little humble in this, but I was looking at some of those numbers. They compared the chambers of commerce in the most recent edition of the Business Journal. Obviously, Memphis Business Journal, of course, is the largest.
Right.
The number of people that live there in that city limit versus then the chamber's numbers and everything. Obviously, Arlington is much smaller than Memphis, but the way I interpreted those numbers, I think you have quite a following, if you will, as far as members.
We have a very healthy chamber. And I attribute that to the fact that people want to do business with people that live in Arlington. And that's what I tell folks. Our chamber membership is not just businesses in Arlington, but I'll get a call from somebody and they'll say, hey, my business is in Collierville, but can I join the Arlington Chamber? And I'll say, do you want to do business with people who live in Arlington? And they'll say yes, and I'll say, yes, you can.
Good.
So, because if you want to do business with an Arlington resident, then you want to have credibility. Yeah. And one of the ways that businesses get that credibility is by being part of their local chamber.
Okay, good. All right, let's kind of change the focus here a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about Tonia.
All right.
So, how long have you been the president of the Arlington Chamber?
So I started in April of 2013. Okay. So it'll be 8 years.
Okay. So where did you come from there? What job?
So immediately before this job, I was working as a consultant for a company that did work with nonprofits. And so I would just go to various nonprofits and help them either with their board development or maybe their web presence or something like that, the database design and things. Okay. And that's kind of how I met the one of the board members I was actually coming to Arlington Chamber lunches at the time, where there were 30 people. We used to meet over at the old Bellevue Arlington offices. And so I had come just so I could do what folks should do, just to make connections and network. And I met one of the board members, and he wanted me to meet with the board about some board development. And so we had met once, and then the person who was serving as the chamber director decided to quit the job. And so they asked me if I'd be interested. And so I thought, let's see, a 4.5 minute commute. And stay in my community and help my community. Really, what could be better than that? So yeah, so I'm glad it worked out that way.
Okay, here's where it starts really getting fun.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right. I feel like
now,
I'm playing You Bet Your Career or something.
Yeah, your career. Tonia Howell, this is your life.
That's right.
Or what is your life? Okay. So what kind of career path have you had? We've all had so many different things. I personally, through high school, I worked in grocery stores, that kind of stuff. So what has your career path been in education, things like that?
So my degree, my college degree, I have a degree in secondary education and in speech and communication, with an emphasis in history. Always loved history. Always have loved history.
Very interesting.
And so while I've never actually been in the classroom, I did spend 11 years working at a large local private Christian school. I was the advancement director. And so kind of used that history, that teaching background, but yet my speech communication. Probably the speech communication portion of my education has been the most valuable to me. Yeah. And so I worked as the advancement director there, and a lot of what I did there, I do in this job. Meeting donors and, donors, clients, kind of similar, planning events, those kinds of things. And so I did that. That was the largest part of my career I spent there. And then after that, I worked for a medical device company for about 3.5 years as their marketing person. And so again, marketing is a big thread, and that's a big part of what I do at the chamber. Then I did the consulting work for about 1.5 years before I took this job. And each one of those jobs, every single step in there, I have loved what I've done. And I thought this was the job I was born for. And it's just interesting how each one has stair-stepped to the other, and how you take the skills that you learn, and there's a way to plug them in and apply them in a new place. So
I don't think a lot of people realize that, especially I'm old enough now to realize it a little bit more. You may not be a young person like yourself. Then you look back and you say, oh my goodness, I can use that skill set, that experience at least, even if it's not the exact skill set, the experience in life. Well, you've shared a lot about what the chamber is and what it does. So the chamber is the city of Arlington, right? The government?
No.
No?
No. Totally separate.
Okay.
So the town of Arlington they have government, elected officials, and town staff that are paid. The chamber is a separate entity. We're a 501c6. Okay. So we're run by a board. I have a board of directors that I report to. And yeah, we partner with the town. Sure. And in fact, it's probably our most important partnership. Because without the town and the chamber being able to be on the same page about a lot of things, the business community would not thrive. Yeah, that makes sense. So we do partner a lot, but separate entity, and but good relationships.
Oh, good. So I can tell that there's never a boring day around here. Things, especially recently.
Well,
so what about?
If there's ever been boring days, it's only been during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So when you can't get out and do some of the things you want to do. But even those days weren't really boring, because we just shifted gears, and there was a lot of information, sharing that was, especially early in the pandemic, when business owners were so desperately trying to figure out, what was available to them from the government. And
yeah,
so
that's been a big challenge, and the chamber's been a huge resource. I know as a member of as an organization for construction industry, that organization that team similar to yours, providing information for everyone is huge. So do you ever get your weekends off where you can just kind of hang out with your people, your family stuff? So what is
my peeps?
Your peeps, yeah.
My
So
peeps.
what's a weekend look like for you?
So, you know, occasionally there's chamber events, but not often on the weekends. You know, most of the chamber events are confined to business hours, but there, you know, we have the 5K and we have Taste of Arlington
Sure.
and things like that. But for a normal weekend, I just, you know, it's just hanging out with my family. Both of my grown children are married and live within 15 minutes of me.
Oh, wow.
And both of my children have 2 children. So I have four young ones. They range in age from 12 to 4. And they call me Nana. And so
Nana.
that's actually my very favorite role, Nana.
I bet it is. Yeah.
And they like to come to the house and, you know, we hang out. And depending on what time of year it is, whether we're out in the backyard or just hanging out. So.
I've got a real tough one coming up.
Okay.
Tough question for you, but
All
before
right.
we get to that one,
Okay.
Arlington.
Okay.
It's kind of out there from Memphis.
Right.
Not as out there as it used to be.
Right.
So give us some idea. What are some of the things going on in Arlington now, as far as progress and building and stuff like that, and community, schools, whatever? Talk to us about Arlington now, and then where do you see or would like to see Arlington, say, 8 or 10 years from now, or in the future?
So, used to, people would say to me, all the way out in Arlington, like it was a different zip code or something, like a different country.
Yeah.
And now I don't get that as much anymore. Every once in a while I'll say, do you know that you can get from Arlington to Collierville in 15 or 20 minutes on 385?
Yeah.
So really 385 was the game changer that drew Arlington closer into what was going on. And that's really when I saw the explosion of growth, when 385 looped the city and brought everything together. So there's a lot going on. For one thing, I was just looking at some data the other day that shows that we have over 300,000 square feet of commercial development going up right now.
Wow.
And actually, that number is a little underreported because there are 3 or 4 projects that have just been approved by the Planning Commission. So they haven't been officially added into the numbers. So we have a lot of development going on. We don't exactly have cranes like they do, you know, downtown, but that's okay. Nobody wants high buildings. But we do have a lot of development going on, as well as residential development. You know, if you drive in certain areas of Arlington, you're going to see a lot of new homes going up. And those homes are selling just as fast as they're being built.
Yeah.
Residential, the realtors tell me that, you know, you just, you know, can't hardly get a house. You know, I mean, you have to really be on your game, and you can't take a lot of time if you want a house in Arlington, that there's a very low inventory right now.
Yeah.
And so that's good for,
That's great.
for sellers. So it's bringing, but it's also bringing new people in, which is good for the rooftops and for the schools. That's what we want to see. But I think that more than anything, that our Planning Commission, our Board of Mayor and Aldermen have done such a good job with planning for the town, that it's been really measured growth, and that's been good for us.
That's
you know,
great.
we're not getting a lot of stuff that's just springing up that doesn't belong.
Yeah.
So that's really
I've
good.
noticed that in some of the
So-
activities I've been involved with as well.
In the next 5 or 10 years, what I see, you know, of course, we're all still waiting on the new Kroger to start, and
Yeah.
and just for those people who think it's not ever going to happen, it is.
It is. Okay.
Kroger has said if they wanted to sell the property, they would have already sold it. So for the naysayers on Facebook, you know, just wait.
Facebook.
That's right. But that, and then there will be an announcement in the next few months about the Baptist freestanding emergency room, because that has cleared all the court challenges, and so that will happen. That will be a really good asset for the town, as well as the West Tennessee Veterans Home has been approved. It's been funded, and we're just waiting for an official announcement from Washington.
exciting.
So those will be some nice big things that will also happen. So over the next 10 years, I would expect the population to steadily increase. We're at about 14,000 right now, you know, and we're going to pull in about 500 new homes over the next 3 to 5 years. And I don't know what the formula is for how much population they account for that, but you know, 2 or 3 people per home, you know, you can see there'll be some steady increases in our population.
Exciting.
So.
Well, I'm ready for the tough one.
Okay.
The tough questions.
All right,
We'll
go.
wrap this thing up.
All right, go.
you've got a week. I'm gonna give you a week. I'm gonna
Okay.
take care of all the responsibilities here. Well, actually, Mary will.
Okay, okay,
I'll watch the grandkids.
okay,
Take care of the money and everything. You've got a week to do anything you want to do. Now, whenever I ask people, that obviously you want to go with your spouse because you love them and everything,
Right.
and that's fine. But if you can, as much as possible, totally selfish, what would you do for a week if you had it?
okay. If I had a week, money is no object, and I couldn't do those things with family, you know, it would be something fun. Like I would bring in some decorators, and I would do some projects at my house
Oh, cool.
that my husband's maybe not on board with, you know, and I would say, oh, you'll love what I've done with the place.
Kind of like the TV shows, they come back for the reveal.
Right, right, but, you know, because that kind of project at my house is a little bit slow and steady, because my husband, having an accounting background, you know, he likes to go slow and steady on stuff like that. But, you know, add a pergola there,
Wow.
and you know, a day bed here, and, you know, some built-ins there, things
Cool.
like that. But
Great.
something
Well,
like
good for
that.
you.
So,
Well, again, thank you so much for taking the time to let us get to know you. I
Sure.
appreciate you sharing some of the things about your personal life and real exciting stuff about the Arlington. I will say this in closing, your reputation does precede you. You're doing an awesome job out here, and people are
Thanks.
really excited about it.
thanks.
So
We have a great chamber, and I invite people to visit anytime that they can. Check our website out, and you'll see when we have activities going on. But
Awesome.
would love for people to come check it out.
All right. Thanks, Tonia.
Thank you, Rick.
All right.
Okay. Mary didn't